Hi everyone. I'm still having some internet challenges, so let me know if I'm having any problems here. And I wanted to talk to you today. You'll have to excuse me, I'm a sweaty mess. My husband just got done demolishing me after 2 hours of ping pong. He's trying to help me get better. I'm not sure how you do that when you keep demolishing someone, but anyways, we had a great day. So wanted to touch base with you on hormones again. Today we're talking about the clash of the hormones when menopause meets menopause. So a lot of people aren't even sure if menopause is a real thing or what we call andropause, which is otherwise known as midlife crisis for men. So let's talk a little bit about what happens as our hormones change. So starting with perimenopause for women, which is like in your 30s and 40s, usually about 10 years before menopause starts, this really fun thing called perimenopause starts. And it's really when we sort of know that we're headed that direction. So usually 5 to 10 years, but they say often 10 years before menopause, you start getting irregular cycles, really increased symptoms of PMS. Lots of fun. So you get a little more prickly. And hot flashes can start, definite mood swings, decrease in libido for some women. Some dryness can happen. We're going to get really personal today, so sorry about that, but we're going to get personal. Really, one of the big things, one of the ways a lot of women know that they are starting this phase is that they have some pretty big disturbances in sleep. So this is when they can really have disrupted sleep, which makes them even more irritable. Incontinence, so really lots of fun there. And changes in cholesterol. Because of your hormonal imbalance, you can get changes in cholesterol during this time. So then you get to head into menopause. Yay! So 33 to 55. And of course, in my house, I think it's God's cruel joke because we've got puberty meeting perimenopause. I'm in that perimenopausal phase. So my daughter will sort of be going through the, height of her puberty when I'm going through menopause, and my husband's like, I think I'm going to pack up and go on a really long business trip during that stage. So thank God I've got a really good kid in general, but sort of an interesting thing that God planned. I'm not sure why he planned it. And every time I say that, my husband's like, I'm not sure God planned that. I think you planned that. But anyways, so it can be anywhere from 33 to 55. 33 would be usually someone who's having sort of a premature menopause, and you want to sometimes find out why. So, certain traumas or things like that can cause that, or hysterectomy, things like that. So hot flashes, again, so now you're going to have an increase in these symptoms of hot flashes, libido, mood swings, painful intercourse. That can actually start here. Weight gain. Because of those hormones, you'll end up with some weight gain. And then the incontinence can get worse. Depression and anxiety. This is where we start to really see some mood changes. Depression, anxiety, migraines can occur because of that hormonal imbalance. Also, decrease in memory. So as estrogen goes down, guess what happens? Your memory actually can be altered. Cognitive function can be affected. So not a fun thing. And back pain. But what I want you to notice here, so this doesn't look like a lot of fun. This list is actually, I think, sort of depressing if you look at it. But the good thing, what I want you to pay attention to, how many of these things can you actually affect pretty easily? Hot flashes, maybe not so easily. You have to get your hormones balanced for that. Libido, same thing, hormones. But mood swings, okay, the painful intercourse you can do something about. Weight gain, I want to talk a lot about our program. We can really help you with that, but also that's a hormonal balance. Depression, anxiety, migraines, memory, back pain, all of these things you can sort of do something about. So all of the things on here you can manage in this day and age. You can actually get some help with. I'm not saying you can get rid of them, but you can make them better if you know what to do. And that's what I want you to leave feeling is somewhat empowered, that there are things you can do. Fortunately, we've just got some amazing doctors. I've got my hormone specialist on speed dial. I think progesterone should be in the drinking water for any woman over the age of 40. Whether you choose to do, hormone therapy is entirely up to you. That's not something I'm here to tell you about. I'm here to just sort of help you through this process of knowing what to expect, what to know, some of the natural things you can do. I love hormone therapy. Not everyone does, but there's some natural ways you can affect it too, and some supplements you can take. So we'll talk about that also. But hormone therapy can be very helpful if you're really struggling. So let's talk about andropause for a minute. So some people is that a real thing? So all it really means is the same thing. It's this shift in your hormonal balance. So it's really interesting. Do you have any idea why your hormones change as you age. So all of a sudden you have babies. Once you have babies and you're sort of past that baby bearing age and you're no longer needed, for those critical parenting years, your hormones suddenly begin to shift radically. They radically decline. And it's like the planet's way of making room for the next generation. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm just not okay with that. Like, you need to get your hormones balanced and optimized if you want to feel good. I want to stick around because I'm going to be here to torture my daughter with my grandkids the way my mom tortures me with my daughter. I'm like, I don't know when the rules changed, but it's really annoying that she follows no rules whatsoever. So I want to do that to my daughter as well. So I'm not going to let her off the hook that easily and just let the planet sort of like get rid of me for the next generation. I'm going to do everything I can to optimize my hormones. But it's sort of like, that's what happens. You get through these parenting years, these critical parenting years, and bam, it's time to go. And so it's sort of weird. But all andropauses is that same thing. It's that menopause. So all of a sudden, a man's testosterone begins to go down pretty significantly during this time of his life. He suddenly feels this decrease in motivation, a decrease in muscle tone. That's a big one. And sometimes, depending on the man, they can feel this need for validation because they feel like their masculinity is being, sort of not just challenged, but it's like, wow, I'm not the same man I used to be. And that's the feeling that a lot of men will describe. But along with that comes a decrease in cognition. So they're not thinking as clearly. Their memory is not as good. Their executive functioning isn't always as good. Fatigue is a big one. Weight gain, another big one. And sexual dysfunction. It's also a time that men are more susceptible to an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease, diabetes, and heart disease. So this is a pretty critical time. So as you can imagine, you've got a woman going through menopause at the same time that a man's going through this really difficult stage psychologically. Women have a hard time with menopause as well, with the physical changes in their body. But women have a hard time, I think, with some of the emotional changes. Men have a really hard time with some of these physical changes and there's the slowdown, that decreased motivation. And so we will hear them talk a lot about that. It's really hard on them. And if you imagine that they're going through this at the same time, we've often been, we hear all these jokes in society about the starter wives or, the second wives club or whatever it is, first wives club. You hear all this stuff about how men go for the younger model. But guess what? Who's actually really filing divorce? If you actually take a look at it, let's take a look at what really happens. This might be interesting to you. So we often think that it's men who leave their wives for younger women. That's sort of the stereotype. And I'm not saying it never happens, okay? Because I know people it's happened to. But let's take a look at what happens. So during andropause, let's say when andropause meets menopause, so men have this sort of need for validation. They're feeling like, they're not the same person they used to be. Some men, not all men have that. They have a decrease in cognitive function that's due to this decrease in testosterone. Women, here's what's really interesting. Women, their brain rewires itself. Yikes, that can be a big problem. So during childbirth, when a woman gives birth to a child, as soon as she gets pregnant, her brain begins to rewire. Okay, so a woman's brain begins to rewire. It estrogenizes. Okay, so she has this estrogenation process that goes on. It's called the mommy brain. So it rewires itself to become a mommy. All of a sudden, if you talk to women, they're like, gosh, I don't even know what happened. All of a sudden, this little creature comes into the world. And it's like the first time I've ever known what it's like to be completely unselfish. I would die or kill for this little thing. And that's her whole existence for the next 20 years or so becomes about keeping her nest together. She will put up with more. She will do more, anything to sort of keep that nest together. So that's her whole focus is on her nest. Okay, it's that nesting process, that protective process. And that's because of the estrogen, that rewiring. All of a sudden during menopause, her brain rewires again. So just like it did during pregnancy, now it rewires again. But this time the estrogen goes down. So she has this imbalance. So her progesterone goes down during perimenopause. Now her estrogen goes down. And it's not that her testosterone goes up. Testosterone actually doesn't really go up. It's just that the ratio starts to change and she becomes more testosterone dominant. So now you've got a woman who, let's take a look. As a woman's estrogen goes down, that mommy brain goes away because her kids are sort of like leaving the nest. One thing estrogen does is it increases empathy. Okay, makes her put up with more to keep her nest together. Now her testosterone's going up and she doesn't have that same feeling of wanting to put up with just about anything. So it's not that things, it's like a lot of men will say, gosh, well, I haven't changed. Like I'm the same person. She's always, like I've always been this way. Suddenly she's just like evil and she, you know, she's mean to me and whatever. And she won't put up with all the stuff. It's not that anything's changed. That's true. Actually, probably not that much has changed in the home. Her empathy changed. She rewired her brain. Whoops. She rewired her brain. And all of a sudden now, all the things that she used to be willing to put up with, she becomes more self-focused. She had to sacrifice herself for so many years. Now all of a sudden she's like, I'm done. I'm done with all of you actually. Kids, you're on your own. Go take care of yourself. Husband, you too. I'm finished. I'm finished with all of you. I'm going to take care of me now. And she becomes more testosterone dominant. Empathy goes down. And more than 60%, according to an AARP study, more than 60% of divorces during that age, during that time of life, are filed by women, not by their husbands. So interesting, interesting fact. I've got a visitor. In case someone jumps up here, it's my kitty. He's like, has to be in the middle of everything. So the brain rewiring, mommy brain goes away, decreased empathy, increased focus on the self. But here's what I want you to take away from this. I'm not telling you this so that you can just expect it and know what to, like, know what's going to happen. In fact, it's the opposite. When I heard this information, because I started to feel myself getting really prickly in that perimenopausal age, and I was like less tolerant, and I'm like, what's going on? My sleep was disrupted. I didn't do all this work to build my family and have this amazing life and this amazing family to throw it all away all of a sudden because my brain decided to rewire. Like, that's just not okay with me. So it's the awareness. Okay, so that awareness for me means I know it's coming. I can plan for it. I know it's going to happen. It's biology, so I'm going to use biology in my favor. So that's why I'm so interested in hormone therapy. It's why I'm so interested in having everything optimized and knowing all the natural things I can do. How do I protect my family? Because I'm just not willing to give in that easily to it. So that's what I want you to take away from that. So one thing, so what can you do? You can optimize all of your other numbers. Like in my case, I have to know my thyroid is optimized. Also, I have a tendency to have high testosterone, so I have to keep that optimized because that can make me even more likely to say things that I might regret later. So make sure those numbers are optimized. Get all of your other numbers, your blood sugar, everything else optimized so that your brain's functioning really well. Use food as medicine. That's our program, The Brain Warriors Way. BrainWarriorsWayLive.com. Information on how to use food as medicine, how to do everything else to keep your brain working at its optimal self, and also, using herbs and spices as medicine. How do you optimize hormones and, your functioning, blood sugar, all of that naturally. Supplements for support. How do you support this stuff naturally? So there are things you can use to help support serotonin, like 5-HTP and GABA actually help to support serotonin, which is what's going to help you feel calmer. When you feel really prickly, that's going to help you feel calmer. Progesterone, that's a hormone. You have to get that optimized with your physician. But progesterone is your body's natural Valium. I'm a huge believer. I can't sleep without it, actually. Magnesium. Oh my gosh, we put it in almost all of our supplements because magnesium is needed to help optimize not only serotonin, but dopamine, also melatonin. You need magnesium to optimize the function of melatonin so you can sleep at night. So I take magnesium and melatonin together at night so I can sleep better. That's one of the tricks. And then, so you can optimize your sleep doing some of those tricks. For me, I already said hormones, meditation. Meditation is huge. I just believe so much prayer and meditation can help you really get a grip over protecting your mind, your brain, your body, just really helping you focus on the right things. Because what you focus on is where your body and brain, it's how your brain is going to function. It's how you're going to focus throughout the day. And exercise. Exercise is the fastest way to increase all of your feel-good neurotransmitters. Head-to-head studies, it does as well as antidepressants. There is nothing as powerful or as fast as exercise. I use it as medicine. People think I just do it because I love working out. Well, I do, but it's because it's medicine for my brain. So if you really want to feel better, it's not only going to help you optimize your weight, which not having an optimal weight during menopause is one of the worst things you can do. It actually increases the symptoms. So if you don't optimize your weight during menopause, you will increase the symptoms of menopause and PMS, so that perimenopausal phase. In fact, obesity now in our society is what they're now blaming a lot of the girls going into early puberty going into early menopause and infertility and things like PCOS. So get your weight under control. Use some of the supplements I talked about. Use some of the strategies. Some other natural things. Maca has lots of studies on improving sexual function because sexual function is disrupted during this time. So maca for sexual function, hot flashes, it helps with both of those. Black cohosh, chasteberry, and dong quai have all been shown to help with some of the symptoms of menopause. It's not going to get rid of it, but it might help settle down some of that edginess and the hot flashes. And I would highly recommend you see a specialist. Phytoestrogen, there's a window that some experts think that is that my husband? It is. Hi, honey. That phytoestrogens can really help. Things like isoflavonoids found in soybeans, flax seeds, split peas, alfalfa sprouts, and clover can all be helpful, especially post-menopause. Right after that, like during and at the end of menopause, it can help with some of those symptoms and just make you feel a little bit better. So I hope this was helpful. Would love your questions, comments, and share this if it's been helpful to you. Bye-bye.